TikTok.
Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself, in my psyche. You should have the same in your brain nightly. If you wanna taste it, you can fucking try me. If you wanna hate it, you know where to find me. And if you're going hate this, you can fucking bite me. I'll be cruising in my lane fast, call it high speed. I've been working hard, yeah, I've been working nightly. If you think you'll win, ha, nah, unlikely. I be taking shots, yeah, cold-blooded, icy. Watching numbers grow is what I call sightseeing. In the front row, run it up when they hype me. The following grows, they know how to ignite me. Call me CEO, I've been running shit right, see. And I ain't playing games, I create my own lane, making pleasure out of pain, turning losses into gains. I'm the boss, I'm making change. I've been rocking this exchange, popping off and risking things. Gonna make a fucking name, I just wanna be famous. But I don't want that cheap fame, no I'm not that vain. I just wanna be greatness.
Hey guys, how's it going? We got Matt Dillahunty hanging with us tonight. And before we get into talking, give everybody a few minutes to show up and settle in and everything. I'll go over a couple things real quick. We're giving away a shirt tonight, so all you got to do is be here and watch the show, and you'll be entered to win a shirt. It's the In-Boss shirt from the Line store, and yeah, there it is. There, Matt's wearing one tonight.
Not too high, Matt.
All you got to do is be here and watch the show, and you're entered for a chance to win. You can buy one at the Line merch store, if that's what you want to do. But go. I'm sure everybody here is well aware of who Matt is and everything, but there's the link to his channel. Wait, what? All right, there's the link to Matt's channel. But everybody knows the Line. There's the Line. All this stuff's in the description for you guys too. And more importantly, one of my favorite things on the internet is the Atheist Debates Patreon project that Matt does. Excellent source of information that help you talk about these topics and things. It's a lot of great information and stuff on there. Anyway, how you doing tonight, Matt?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for inviting me on and being accommodating, because my schedule's just a mess. And it is like, because Arden and I breed exotic reptiles and stuff, that also means that we breed rodents. And so Monday is clean the whole garage, rodent stuff and everything else. I just literally got done, ran through the shower, and just in time to come over and hang out.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to us. It's really great having you, and you've been really busy lately. I know with just from what I've seen, I know you've been busy, and I've watched some of your the videos where you and Arden care for the snakes and feeding and the eggs and stuff, and it's really interesting stuff. And in fact, I came on there and we had a discussion about hog-nosed snakes one night.
Yeah.
But over at the Line, you guys raised almost $70,000 for RFR, which is just amazing. Great work.
Yeah,
I'm just shocked by that. Way more than I knew that it would be bigger this year than last year, but I wasn't expecting 70,000 really.
Yeah, we were pretty sure that we were pretty confident that we'd built up enough of an audience and done well enough last year that we could probably do 50K, but you don't ever want to fail, even though all the money that comes in is a win and none of it's a fail. But Jimmy set the target at 35,000, and by the time the day we started, we were already over 20,000, because we did kind of like some fundraising, and so yeah, we blew past 35, and I had originally said that if we got to 40,000, because I wanted to pick something that was more than our initial goal, that I would get Seth's drawing of a cat tattooed on my body somewhere, and that the more money we raised, the more prominent of a location I would find to give it. And so we finished the fundraiser at 66,000, $666. More came in afterwards, so we ended up around 68,000. But that was good enough that I went down. Fundraiser ended on Sunday night. I think it was Tuesday. I went to Rock of Ages Tattoo in Austin, and Steve Byrne was there near close and was reeling to knock it out, because it's. I'll show the picture. There we go. So there it is on my calf. Seth Andrews drew that. I know I said I'd do it for the fundraiser. There was a good chance I was going to get this tattooed anyway, because I just really like it. But there's something about it. On the one hand, I'm expecting people to come up to me and say, "Ooh, is that a drawing that like your kid did?" Which would be great. On the other hand, I've got Seth's autograph tattooed on me. But the picture itself, I love the fact that there's no tail. Everything about that is just, I think there are other people who are going to go get this tattooed, and I think it's going to end up on shirts for fundraisers. It's just awesome.
Yeah. No, I love it. I think it's perfect. It's just, it has that bit of comedy to it and stuff. And if you're inside the joke and you know it or whatever, or not the joke necessarily, but if you're on the inside of things, you get it. But even if you're not, it's a cool tattoo, so it's funny and something to talk about. So yeah, I love it.
Plus, it was drawn by a friend. We raised money for a great organization. It irritates him, and he is dumbfounded every time he sees it, which just brings me pleasure. Anything I can do to irritate Seth is pleasurable. Yeah,
I thought he was going to have a panic attack when you and Aaron were handling snakes.
I want him to, Seth, at some point he'll be able to do it and come down and visit. Because I think actually once he runs through, the snake room and sees the operation and actually gets to handle some of them, I'm hoping that he has a slightly better understanding. But, some people will never get the appeal, and some people don't want anything to do with snakes. There's some people who are terrified of them. I hope that if nothing else, we're getting some people who are unwarrantedly afraid of snakes to kind of reevaluate that.
Yeah. And Mark Stoney with a $2 super chat. Nice beard, Matt. Always about the beard. Everybody loves the beard.
It's wild. I had the goatee for years. I grew the goatee kind of long. This is as long as it gets. I could probably sit here for 20 years and it's just not going to get much longer. But yeah, Arden was like, you should try growing the whole beard out and see what happens. And, a couple months later, everybody's like, holy crap, you're looking like James Randi or Dan Dennett. And then of course, Dennett died. So,
yeah,
that's why I was going to say, I can't decide if you look more like Dennett or James Randi, but definitely.
Yeah. I'll read that in a minute.
I know. You can click those if you want, the ones you want to read.
I didn't want to cover people's faces while they
I didn't even, especially the beard. Now I'm going to get hate mail.
I told him to put me and Matt at the top and y'all at the bottom, so I'd cover up your faces.
I can move you guys to the top.
You didn't get my message.
Being covered up.
I said, put us at the top and cover your face.
I despise being on camera, actually, if you want to know the truth of it.
We got a
weird thing to do, but
Pinworm said, always wanted to say hi to Matt, but in a more intimate live chat. The line is too busy. Hi, Matt.
Hi, Pinworm.
Pinworm is also from Kentucky.
Yeah. There's a lot of Kentucky atheists here at the Kentucky Atheist.
Yes.
We have no idea why.
I don't know about a lot.
Yeah, so, I'm looking through chat, and it's like Math Pig's the only name I recognize, and it's also the only one that's not a mod right now.
Well, so something I wanted to pick your brain about just briefly, because
please.
I've never really heard you speak about this, and I'm sure you've heard of it, but a subject that's came up lately that's kind of a debate topic, I guess, that I've never really heard touched on is the problem of deception. Are you familiar with that?
Not by that name. There's a bunch of things that fall into one particular category, and actually I bet I haven't set that video live yet. Cool. So tomorrow there will be over the to be a couple live premieres. But there's the problem of divine hiddenness, but there's also the problem of inconsistent revelation, that people are getting different, explanations or whatever from God. And the one you're wanting to ask about may be similar, but go ahead.
So the problem of deception is when, even going back to Genesis, God created man with the ability to be deceived from the very beginning. And that's a curious thing. But as we go forward, when you combine it with divine hiddenness and the problem of evil, it seems like you can't. And the devil is described as being able to masquerade as an angel of light, and us as humans, how are we supposed to be able to identify a supernatural being that can masquerade as a god, essentially? And the some of the words that are used in the Old Testament to describe the devil as a lion and things like that are later used to describe God in Revelations. So there's several verses that support this, and I don't have them written down. I should have done it for this, but what it comes down to is, how can you know that you're not being deceived and that Yahweh is actually the devil or the bad guy? Because of all the murder and slavery and the problems with evil and hiddenness, and it's a way to, like, for theists, what I like to do with it is say, I'll give you that all these things exist, that God exists and that the devil exists and all these supernatural things. And if I do that, though, how can you convince me that you're not just being deceived? Because the elect can deceive people, or can be deceived as well. And our ability to deceive each other plays into it. And when I combine that with those other things, it seems like I can come up with a pretty decent argument against at least the Christian God. And I was just wondering if you'd ever even heard of that.
Not by that name and not in that exact form. Now, years ago, when people would talk about morality in particular, from the Christian standpoint, it's, God has written his moral code on your heart, blah, blah, blah. And I used to point out that, any being who is able to metaphorically write their moral code on your heart will be good according to that code. I'm perfect according to my moral code, and Satan would be morally perfect under his own moral code. And so the question that I kept asking people, because it seems obvious to me that we are all in the same boat when it comes to issues of morality and trying to figure things out. I said, okay, how did you determine that God is the good one and Satan is the evil one?
Right.
What standard are you using? Oh, well, because if you're using God's standard that he wrote on his heart, of course God's going to win.
Right.
Hitler's going to come out on top if he gets to put his own moral criteria on there. And so the question then becomes, how did you determine God was a good one and Satan was the evil one? And for years, I'd ask that on occasion when we were talking about morality, and nobody has an answer. And I'm not convinced there is one. I think what you're talking about, Joe, is you have, by piecing it together, the problem of divine hiddenness, that the world doesn't look the way we'd expect it to look given what God somebody's proposing. The problem of inconsistent revelation, that there's, even within Christianity, over 1,000 different denominations that all disagree on some point of doctrine. If I don't have a mechanism by which I can tell what the right answer is, it's all these people talking about, oh, well, this is what God wants. How do you know what God wants? And even if we knew completely what God wants, how do we know that what God wants is what we should be worried about or what we should be, pursuing? And so there's a bunch of little problems that go in there. I like where you're going with that problem of deception. I think it could be fleshed. It probably has been fleshed out stronger.
Brandon over at Mindshift does a way better job of explaining it than I do.
And next time Brandon's on, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
One thing that reminds me of that, though, is like Pastor Stephen Anderson. He is preaching like that God made the earth old and everything. So that would even play into that argument. Like he's He's trying to
Oh, is
claim
Stephen
that.
Anderson claiming that God made the world and made it look older than it is?
Yes,
Yeah.
because he knows the evidence supports the old Earth, and
Yeah.
so he says that it's only 6,000 years old, but God made it
Last
already old.
Thursdayism.
I think there's some basic apologetics. You know, if I were to put my Jesus hat back on, we have problems where we can be deceived, and so if you're only concerned about the fact that we can be deceived at all, there's an apologetic there that is really pretty straightforward, kind of in the same vein as, you know, man's sin brought, you know, uh, death and punishment into all of this. But the notion that we don't have a perfect brain is all that's required for us to be capable of being deceived. And so it's not like God created us specifically with the ability to be deceived, but created us in such a way that we don't have a perfect brain. If we had a perfect brain, maybe we'd be gods. So therein is yet another problem. And so if he creates us with a brain that can be deceived, all we can do is use our best tools available to try to find out what the truth is. The problem gets amplified as, for example, you know, Joe's pointing out when we start talking about how do you know God's the good one and Satan's the evil one, is that it's one thing for me to deceive someone. I mean, I can do magic tricks that'll blow people's mind. But it's just trickery. The deception is a skill thing.
Yeah.
We have no solution to the problem of hard solipsism. We have no way of knowing that the reality we experience is necessarily the actual reality, or that the concept, the actual reality, is even a real thing. And when you add in supposed supernatural agents that are incredibly powerful, when Satan can deceive you, I would argue that one of the strongest, you know, kind of anti-Christian arguments tied to this would be that it's not just about deception. It is that it's one thing for us to be deceived by a mirage, or to be deceived by, you know, hey, I'm going to pull my finger off, or whatever little magic trick thing that somebody can do. It's completely different for God to set up a scenario where there is an adversary that is supernatural and powerful and capable of deceiving us, and to then do nothing about it. We are helpless playthings in an arena where there are supernatural, super powerful agents that are bent on deceiving us, and God does nothing to evidently try to stop that deception. But even if he did, how would you know you're not still just being deceived?
Right.
And so we're in this point where we have no good reason to think that there's any supernatural being capable of any of this stuff at all. But if there were, not only would we not be able to identify which one, you know, is good or bad, or we have, it's like, it's really easy for me to lie to and fool preschoolers. They're virtually helpless against, you know, intentional deception by, you know, a mere adult human. How much more fragile and gullible are we to, you know, a god, a devil, a demon, whatever? Yeah, it's a good point.
It's just something that whenever somebody came on, Jimmy Tux is a friend of the show, and he came on one day, and when I first met him, and he's like, how do you know the Bible wasn't written by the devil? And I was like, oh, here we go. And then I got to talking to him, and then Brandon released the video, and I was like, hey, there's some pretty good points here that I like, that I haven't heard many people talk about, and I just found it interesting, is all.
I think one of my favorites is the fact that when you go to Genesis, according to the book and the narrative, it's the serpent that told the truth.
Right. Yeah, that's usually where I start if I'm talking to a theist about it, and they, of course, you know, fall apart at the very beginning when I say that. But it's just interesting, is all. You have done, and probably, do you know how many debates you've done? Do you have any clue?
No, and there's some extra difficulty in trying to figure out what counts and what doesn't count. So, for
Yeah.
example, I did that event with Jordan Peterson, but it wasn't a debate. It wasn't a moderated debate. It was just two guys talking. Actually,
Yeah.
one guy talking and one delusional individual babbling. And then I also did a thing with like Dinesh D'Souza, and that was not a moderated debate, but it was the two of us sitting on stage going through everything from whether or not he can identify as a frog to how he's obsessed with money. And so and then I've done a bunch on like modern day debates where I will never debate again, but it's, I have lost count. And there are some people who would say, hey, every time there's a caller to the show, maybe that counts as a debate. So 20 years, I give up. I don't know. I just know that Dan Barker has probably still done more live moderated debates than I have. Someday when I'm not working on 3 different things, I will sit down and calculate how many I've done, how many Dan's done. And the problem is that he's still doing them. So, I mean, I'm chasing him, but he has this massive head start, but he's great at it.
Whenever, like some of the first debates I seen were Hitchens and on stage with Dawkins and the Hitchens with I can't remember his first name, but Fry talking to the Catholic Church and stuff like that. And when I got on YouTube, the first atheist content I ever seen was you and Aaron together on the Atheist Experience. And I was like, wait a minute, there's people that actually talk about this stuff. I just thought it's something that YouTube wouldn't even allow. I mean, to me, it's that taboo from where I'm from. I'm from out in the country in Kentucky. It's but
I have really good friends from Kentucky and from out in the country in Kentucky as well. I love going out there. It's been a few years since I made the trip, but on the off chance that Ben and everybody else sees this, hi, I miss y'all.
Awesome. Yeah. I've met, whenever I called myself the Kentucky Atheist, I thought, well, it's a play on words. Like I'm the only Kentucky atheist, but, and I knew I wasn't. It was just, being a smart ass kind of, but, I've met so many atheists from Kentucky since I started doing this, and I've talked to a lot of great people, and it's been awesome.
I think I've done 2 Kentucky Free Thought conventions.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. My friends live out in Glendale, which is a tiny place just outside of E-Town. But I think I've done the Kentucky Free Thought Convention twice. Once in Lexington and once in Louisville.
Yeah.
But
so I'm like an hour away from Ken Ham's boat.
Right.
And one of the things, because whenever I first started doing this, one of the things I talked about is, of course, the young earth creationist and the indoctrination and stuff that goes on there. And it's like where I live, Ken Ham put the boat here on purpose, obviously, right? I mean, where I live, it's a major young earth creationist population. And so it was watching a lot of debates and stuff that gave me the confidence to come on the internet and be able to talk to people about these things and try to have thoughtful, productive conversations, but sometimes it's not possible. But yeah, so I'm trying to get a bunch of atheists together to go to the Ark Encounter protest this year and hang out here in Eastern Kentucky for the weekend for that. And I've got several people coming now, so it should be a fun time.
Yeah, I've been out there. We toured the Ark, and that was about it.
That's about it. Yeah, I believe that. How's the snake thing going? I haven't seen any videos on it lately, but last I seen, you guys had lots of baby snakes coming.
Yeah, April was the busiest month because we did the North American Reptile Breeders Convention, as well as 2 other reptile expos where we were there as vendors, and We did okay. We sold some of the babies, but I mean, I've still got loads of babies and snakes, and it's starting up again. We're still in the midst of breeding. We have 10 different species that we work with, although primarily it's ball pythons. We're going to be busy in June. Basically, we're using May to redo enclosures, move stuff around in the house, take the downtime to, because we have way too many animals. And so, I mean, 10 species of snakes, but multiples of a bunch of them. And so then in June, we're going to do a few more reptile expos. The newest snakes that we've got that hatched out are some banana blade clown ball pythons, which have been out of the egg for what, 5 days, 4 days, 4 or 5 days. And so we're going to wait for them to shed out, and then we'll feed them their first meal, and we'll monitor them. And then once they've had 4 or 5 meals, they'll go up on Morph Market, which is the other thing I have to do this month, which is take all the snakes that we have for sale and get them listed on Morph Market, because right now I only have 1 snake listed on Morph Market. It's a very nice snake, but
yeah, I was unaware of all the like special morphs of ball pythons and stuff, and I learned a lot over there watching you guys show off, you know, the different kinds, and especially going through the babies and saying this is you know, this kind of that kind and everything. It was really interesting and good stuff. It gave me an interest in snakes, and I had been scared of snakes prior, and I'm not anymore. But
that's great. That's part of the reason we do it. And we're looking to, in addition to the breeding, we're looking to possibly do reptile based shows at schools, not only to introduce kids to the reptiles that are native to their local area, but also some exotic ones. And there's great opportunities there. When you look at, there's an opportunity to teach Mendelian genetics, to talk about incomplete dominant traits, recessive traits, things like that. But you can also use the fact that, you know, here's a ball python that would cost you $50, and here's a ball python that would cost you $50,000. What's the difference between the two of these? They're the exact same species. There's just a different set of genes that give this one a different look. And then you can use that to give talks, not only about, you know, the basics of market economics, but also about bullying. You know, you got brown eyes, I got blue eyes, you got blonde hair, you got red hair, you got black hair, your skin's slightly darker, whatever. Why are we looking at these differences between us and using that to judge the value of people in order to create tiers? And so I think there's an opportunity there to teach some lessons that attack a couple different things at the same time.
I think that's an amazing idea. That's awesome. Robin, what kind of snake do you have, Robin? You got a ball python, don't you?
You're muted.
I have a ball python.
Okay.
I was gonna put, you know, bring her into the stream tonight, but my internet's all messed up on my computer, so I'm over at Mom and Dad's garage, so I wasn't gonna drag Arabella over here. I've been cleaning out rat cages today too, because I have pet rats. So
yeah, I guess it only makes sense to raise your own rats if you have.
I don't raise the rats to feed them. Mine are pets.
Oh, that's right. You have pet rats.
Yeah, they were supposed to be pets. They were supposed to be snake food, and they were too big, so they got killed.
And they end up as pets. Yeah, no. Yeah. There are rats out in the garage that got named that will be pets forever.
Well, not forever. They don't live very long.
True. I'm forever in. They'll never know that they're no longer a pet. But yeah, and then
one of them has a huge tumor. Even one of mine has a huge tumor. She's one of the white ones. But now I've got a one that was raised a pet. You know, it was meant to be a pet. It's black and white, and it's a different. It's not one of the albino white snake or white rats. I can't think what it's called. A jumbo rat, Dumbo rat. Is that right?
Dumbo is the one with the ears kind of on the side instead of on the top.
That's what she is.
I have. This is one of our new snakes that's been in quarantine. Hey, buddy. It is a red stripe cypress possibly carrying the gene for clown as well.
Beautiful.
Ends up with a full body stripe that is virtually perfect on this one. And it fundamentally changes both the coloration and the patterning. So the patterning on the side of this is just red striped cypress. Both of these genes are new to our collection, and we've been eagerly waiting to get these genes in our collection, because once you start combining red striped cypress with clown and Wookiee and a few others, you get Pompeii's, and well, there's a couple other genes involved, but it's just some gorgeous stuff. But if you put this next to a normal ball python, and I love the color and the pattern on a normal wild type, this just immediately stands out, even though if you were just to come across this snake without knowing anything else about it, it'd be like, oh, it's a pretty snake with a stripe on it. Big deal. For people, this one as a baby was probably about $700, just because for breeders, primarily for the breeding potential. But yeah, one of our new babies. Thank you, honey.
Yeah, Joe, you'd like a ball pythons. They're sweet snakes, actually. They're very.
I'll make you a heck of a deal.
Yeah.
Are you going to deliver it?
I may end up delivering it. I don't know the next time we're going to actually drive up to Kentucky, but I don't know.
I'm not too far away. You may
that
be
far.
too then.
But, yeah, we're not sure about that. Yeah, we're having so much fun with this. Art and I are both obsessive learners. We both, love reptiles, but we also we love the rodents. And we love the opportunity for education. It's great because most people, to whatever extent they know who I am, it's, hey, you've done, call-in atheist debate shows for years, and public debates and lectures. This weekend, actually, I'm flying to Orlando to work with the Florida Free Thought Group there to give a talk on whether or not you can hang up on family. And I do a lot of stuff within the atheist community, and I never feel like I do enough. And don't get me wrong, I can be incredibly lazy too. I prefer to look at it as efficient. I am very efficient with my time, but it's nice, I think, on occasion for people to get a look at the other parts of my life. And since Arden and I we've been building this business up over the last couple of years, as a hobby that is also a business. And it's just, if I'm having a bad Wednesday, I always look forward to doing the hang up, because by the time the show is over, I always feel better. And the same thing with the Sunday show. I leave the Sunday show. I play back the show in my head, and I'm constantly irritated. Oh, I should have done this. I should have done that. I could have done this. I went a little too far there. When I get all riled up and dug in on somebody, I made a mistake there. I shouldn't have done that. And I think it's one of the reasons that, I have no interest in stopping, even though it's been almost 20 years of doing this, because I haven't gotten it right yet. And so there's this constant room for improvement. But there were so many people who were just like, oh, this is all Matt does. And I have a massive board game collection. I have, lots and lots of reptiles. I mean, we have 10 species of snakes. We also have crested geckos, bearded dragons, tegu, and ornate uromastyx, emerald tree skinks. So there's 5 species of lizards in addition to the 10 species of snakes that we've got. And it's how we spend our time. My week is, I'll do some live streaming on Twitch in between stuff. I'll manage the snake stuff. I'll do my Wednesday show. I'll do the Sunday show. I'll fill in on other shows. I'll do, podcasts and hangouts when people ask me to. And the rest of the time I'm I'm studying something to get more stuff done, to do more videos.
Yeah, no. One of the reasons that I liked watching you guys with the snakes is, of course, I've seen you and Arden in videos on the line and other stuff, and I've watched you for a long time. And well, in fact, I've seen Arden for a long time, and watching you guys with the snakes, you can tell it's something that you're passionate about it as well, and it makes it interesting, you know, somebody that you learn a little bit more about somebody. And for me, I also think the snakes are fascinating, so it helps. But yeah, it's obvious whenever you watch that you guys are really into it and stuff, and that makes it fun to watch for me. But yeah, the
if you join the Patreon, you can get in Zoom meetings with them every now and then.
Yeah.
Yep. Get discounts, all kinds of stuff. I bought an ultrasound, not a big fancy one like a vet would have, but just a minor kind of ultrasound we use for all the ball pythons to tell when the females are producing follicles and how big they are. Because once you get past 10 millimeters or so, that's when you want to start pairing. And then once you get up to 35 millimeters, you want to make sure you do your last pairing then, because after 40 millimeters, they're either going to reabsorb or you're going to be getting eggs shortly. But it's so much fun. So I had to learn how to use an ultrasound. I mean, who'd have thought I was going to end up using an ultrasound ever?
Yeah, I would love that. Having to learn other things to do it would just make it that much more interesting, I think. But yeah, I just wanted to, you know, bring that up about the snakes and stuff because I really like watching that. I don't get time to a lot, especially. I thought making YouTube videos was going to be something that was, you know, simple and easy and fun, and I guess if you want to do it, there's also some work involved. And but yeah, I get lazy sometimes too, and Azo has to remind me that I need to go take care of things.
That's what furniture does.
I know.
Are you going to ask him about the question?
About the question?
About the precept.
Oh yeah. I hadn't got to that on my piece of paper, but that's a good thing to talk about.
But if you had something else, I just was wondering.
Whenever, like, I'm encountering quite a few like presuppositionalists, especially the Bible fundamentalists and stuff. They always start with the presupposition, and it makes it really difficult to have a conversation. And do you like? I mean, I've seen you deal with it a few times and stuff, but like, how do you approach that when they're wanting to go ahead and start from, you know, the whole thing that you're disagreeing about in the first place? Do you just try to avoid those conversations or? Partially.
I mean, all right. So the term precept gets tossed around a lot, and it gets misapplied. I almost want to say most of the time, but
I agree.
Well, just take Darth Dawkins.
Yeah, I don't have the data to show that it's actually misapplied most of the time. For me, if somebody's genuinely presupposing God, then I change the nature of the discussion, which is, why are we having a conversation about this at all? Because if you're going to presuppose something, you're either an evidentialist, believing that there is evidence with which you can get you know, an epistemologically sound warrant. You can be justified in believing God exists based on evidence, or you're going to presuppose God as a necessary condition for logic or a necessary, you know, condition for morality. But if you're presupposing the very thing that we're having disagreement about whether or not it exists, I don't know why that person would ever engage in conversation.
It seems like, and I agree with you, like presupposition. I mean, there's there's presuppositions that we make about things that are necessary to even have the conversations, and the word gets tossed around a lot. I agree, but when they're presupposing God, it seems like they want to make this argument against atheism, which is a really weird thing to me anyway. Like, I feel like that's you're I don't believe you, and you're going to argue with me about it. I don't really know like how that is. I agree with you. I don't know how that's any way to get through a conversation, but it's like this growing thing that seems to happen a lot, and even with people I don't expect. And
I'm still happy to have those conversations. It's just, I also bring up the thing, if you are not basing your position on evidence, we're in a different realm. If you are basing it on evidence, cool, we can discuss the evidence. It's not that presuppositionalism is just I'm going to assume God exists and ta-da, we're done. It is, there's a lot of different, arguments that are presented where, there needs to be some grounding for logic, and this thing, the way it's described would serve as a grounding for logic. Therefore, I'm going to be convinced that thing exists, or I'm going to presuppose its existence as a foundation for logic. It doesn't solve any problem, but it's not like there aren't arguments to have discussions with. Cy Ten Bergenkate, he and I did a debate, and he's a presuppositionalist, although I guess he still is. He's just not allowed to be an apologist. But he was basically parroting what Greg Bonson and others have put out, and I'm not going to dig in. I don't think he had a particularly robust understanding of what they were saying, and so he wasn't always the best representative. But I will say that it was predictable enough that I pre-wrote my rebuttal. But I only did that to make the point. And it's not even a point that shows that they're wrong. It's just, if you're going to presuppose God as an explanation for something, then you can argue all you want about what your justification is for that presupposition, but it's still a presupposition, and you don't need any justification for that. It's one thing to say, I concluded this without empirical evidence. This is not an argument that's based on the facts. This is an argument that's based on abstractions. And then when we get into it, it's like, oh, logic needs a grounding. Really? Why? Why does logic need a grounding? Well, something has to guarantee that it's true. How do you know that it could be any way other than the way it is? You can dig into this on 20 different subjects. I'm
specifically talking about like the Darth Dawkins stupid.
Honestly, I don't know that I've ever listened to anything from Darth Dawkins.
You didn't listen to Shannon wear him out?
No.
Matt, someday when you're looking for some entertainment, you need to watch that. Shannon just like whips him around like he's I don't know.
I'm sure it's awesome. I love Shannon to pieces, and I wouldn't want to get in Shannon's way. I don't envy, but I learned very quickly that there were a handful of YouTube apologists that were in the Darth Dawkins camp, or that were Darth Dawkins or whatever. And it was the most laughably pedestrian attempts to go at it. It was, prove that atheism is true.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, I don't know how to do that, because I'm an atheist, which means that I'm not convinced that God exists. How can I possibly prove to you what's in my brain?
Yeah.
They'll just claim, no, you actually know there's a God, Matt. You don't just believe, you know there's a God and you're denying it. How do you know that? How is it that you know my brain better than I do, evidently? It's because God told me. Well, how can I know that? We're right back to the deception problem again, because I think that the deception's coming from inside the house.
Yeah, me too.
yeah, right. Well, whenever I try to discuss that, you do it so much better than me. Of course, you have much more practice than me, but I always stumble over it and stuff. But thank you for a clear answer about that, because I understand what you mean, and it's a weird thing. It's just so weird to me whenever I approach it, because I don't know. I'm like, what do I do with this? There's nowhere to go from here.
It's infuriating. I find.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
It's like, what do you ground? What's something ultimate and just like, ugh.
The one that I had somebody crash a stream the other day that was like, you have to ground your atheism on something. I said, why? Like, why does it matter? Why is that necessary for atheism? And it went nowhere, of course. But anyway,
the subject of grounding things is already somewhat problematic. I've said before, I don't like the term spiritual. I don't know what it means, because it means something different to almost everybody.
Yeah.
And as long as that's the case, it doesn't have any use for me. The same thing is true for grounding, because in most of the cases, what you're saying is, there needs to be some foundation, but it's never really clear what would qualify as a foundation, what wouldn't qualify as a foundation, or why. And in many cases, it's not even clear why a foundation would be needed or desirable.
Yeah. It's a strange thing to try and walk through that. It doesn't. And when I ask why, it's just like they just repeat the question or say that I'm not answering them or whatever, the usual nonsense. But let's go through some of the audience questions that we saved here, so we can get Matt out of here. And he's had a long day. And
all right, wait a minute. But then, and if you're here, make sure that you give me a holler out so I can get your name wrote down. I think I've got everybody that right now. I've got a whole bunch, but there may be somebody that's sneaked in that I don't know about. So make sure I won't know you're here to put your name in the shirt.
Awesome. Let's see. We asked the first couple. First of all, thanks, Justin. He gifted 10 memberships. I can't see who they went to right now, but welcome to everybody that got those. Thank you, Justin. I appreciate it a lot. Sean, super chat for $20. Matt, love the beard. Years ago, you gave me the courage to admit myself as an atheist, and for that, I am grateful.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Math Pig with €5. I think that's the first euros we've had on here, right? They can't tell the difference because they feel better just what they do. It's God. If they feel bad guilt about something, it's the devil. I don't know.
Make sure you like and subscribe too before you leave.
And sub.
Subscribe.
Thanks for the super chat, Math Pig. I think that was about the deception thing, is what he was asking, or at least stating. $5 super chat from Tear Your Hair Out. Hey, y'all, much love from West Virginia. Matt, I'm a huge fan. Thanks for what you do. Kim.
Thank you.
And what was the ride home like after seeing the Ark?
It was almost exactly what you'd expect. I went with Seth Andrews and a bunch of other people who were there for, I think it was one of the Kentucky Free Thought conventions, where they took us out and went through. I tried to, we waited down in the gift area to see if we could get Ken Ham to come over and interact at all, but no, he was having none of that.
No.
It was the ride home was the standard stuff. We talked about how it was overpriced, not as impressive as it should have been, how it's not actually an arc, especially if you look at it from the backside. It's an arc facade on a building, which is fine. But if you're going to sell that, you're going to build an arc. It's already embarrassing that you're doing what a 500-year-old man did with just 3 dudes and ancient tools, supposedly. And yet you've got machinery and forklifts and cranes. And, you know, you've had your wood's been hand hewn by an Amish group up the street and all that stuff. And, you know, still, yeah,
we don't even know what that is.
it's really wild. And so we had all those conversations. We laughed about stuff. The number of just like it's like they could have printed up a book about Noah's Ark and then taken the pages out and print those up as big, you know, posters. That felt like about 50% of the arc to me was these big posters that just made pronouncements about stuff.
Yeah. I actually, I don't spend a lot of time going on about the arc itself, but what they do there with the piling kids in a room and making them repeat, the things that Ken Ham says about the age of the earth and stuff like that. And now they're getting into homeschooling, AIG is, and it's a really troubling thing for me, growing up in an area where I know what it leads to from experience. So,
yeah.
But Mark Caesar asked, what are the laws about selling snakes where you are, Matt?
Well, it's kind of complicated. There's a blacklist and a whitelist. And so Texas has limitations on what you can keep. Basically, there are special permits that you need if you want native species. Like if I wanted it, we have Western hognose, which isn't native, or actually is native in part of the state. So we need a permit to actually be able to sell those babies, but we haven't produced those yet. But for like Eastern hognose or Nerodia, water snakes and things like that, anything that's native, it's a different kind of permit. For something like the ball pythons, I don't need any special permit for that. On the black and white list in Texas, the blacklist includes, I think, I'd have to go pull up the blacklist, but it is, Texas is one of the best states for this. As a matter of fact, we have an Argentine tegu right now, which is just a big lizard. She's a little puppy dog, and is lazy. Florida has banned them. And so there was a family here in Texas that was moving to Florida, and because they couldn't take their tegu with them, they sold us their tegu and its enclosure at a ridiculously low price. They just wanted somebody to take care of it. And, we love her to pieces. We can keep them, but there are things that we can't keep. For example, I can't keep Fiji banded iguanas, or is it Fiji banded lizard? I think it's Fiji banded iguanas. You can keep them in Canada. You can't keep them in the United States because of some treaty that we have with, I don't know, Fiji about exports. My favorites have always been Australian snakes and Australian pythons in particular. And so I've got a pair of womas. Eventually I'll have some others as well. I had a albino Darwin's python for a while, but you can't import or export out of Australia anymore. So there are woma morphs that are only available in Australia. They will eventually leak out to everybody because somebody will break the law and, take them up to, Timor or Papua New Guinea or wherever, and then export them out of there. So now you're not exporting out of Australia. It's wild, but yeah, we've had to go through, we're licensed business, everything else. The bigger issue is that we make sure that if somebody buys from us and we're going to ship, there's a couple different companies. One's shipyourreptiles.com and the other one's Redline Shipping, that specialize in FedExing overnight reptiles. And we've had really great success. I've got 3 snakes that are arriving this week. We've bought geckos that way, and we'll do the same, but we have to check the specific regulations on where we're shipping to. So that, like, for example, if I don't have any reticulated pythons right now, but reticulated pythons tend to get banned as a group, and they don't pay any attention to whether or not you've got the super dwarf, 50%, 75% Calicoa. They don't care about any of that. It's just if it can get, there are municipalities that say if it can get to be more than 5 or 6 feet, you just can't have it, which is ridiculous. As the native snakes around here, Eastern indigos can get 7, 8 feet and they're in my backyard. Well, actually, they're not in my backyard, but they could be.
Yeah, that's interesting. There's and I bet there's even with the shipping, I wonder if it's complicated for the company shipping it because of state laws that may not even allow them to ship through their state or whatever.
The shipping companies we use, I mean, they all go through FedEx and they always ship to a FedEx hub. I happen to live about 6.5 minutes from my FedEx hub. And so it's great because on literally, so today is Monday night right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wednesday morning, I will be picking up a male Dumerals boa, a female Dumerals boa, and a breeder ready ball python crystal female. All Wednesday morning, and then they'll go into quarantine for a month, which is a whole nother thing. But
yeah,
I know there's people who didn't show up and realizing there was going to be this much snake talk. So I'm going to I shouldn't answer for too long. You probably got more questions there.
Yeah, I got a couple more left. Bree over at Hive Science asked, what is the best starter gecko?
Crested geckos are the best starter gecko.
Awesome.
And I'm not just saying that because we have some that are for sale. Genuinely, they're great. Others are, a little more complicated. These are pretty easy to take care of. They are friendly. Yeah, crested geckos are great.
Awesome. Yeah, geckos are neat animals. I like to watch them. They're neat. Mark Reed,
I'll see if I can get a gecko in here before we're done.
Okay. Mark Reed gifted 5 more memberships. Thanks, Mark. I really appreciate it. Good to see you. And what do we have? Okay. Assembly of God, do you think the Republicans funded some of the Ark Encounter build?
Do you think Republicans funded some of the Ark Encounter build? Well, I know that they got special
rebates.
Yeah, rebates and things like that, and tax stuff. I don't know if there's any, like, the Republican Party or anybody. I don't think anybody like that funded it, because they almost didn't get this thing done, even with all the red tape slicing that they did. That said, I don't know anything about who the donors were.
Yeah. Are you ready with a winner, Robin? No.
Robin's not even ready with a microphone.
I can't hear you.
Is PC still in chat?
Well, I mean, I'm in this garage, so I didn't want to. But I mean, I don't even have the channel members. I mean, we got to add them in there.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to be able to give it. I've got the whole 2 pages of names though wrote down. So, and if anybody else is out there in chat, you better make sure you let me know. I think there's a lot of really new names. Somebody got banned just a minute ago though, so they'll be scratched off.
There might be another one or two.
not somebody banned. I tell you what, Robin, pick a winner.
There's 2 right there. Huh?
Pick a winner from the people that are here, and I will personally pick a member and send a shirt to a member myself.
Well, right. Hold on a minute. There's like 3 people.
That way
right
we
now.
can.
There's 4 people right now that I hadn't seen.
Oh, damn,
and that's the crested gecko.
That's a crested gecko. Which one is this, honey?
Crested, not crusted. Crested.
This is Winston.
Crusty.
Who's one of our boy breeders.
Yeah.
We bred him to several lily white females and produced quite a few. I wish he'd turn around.
Yeah.
Let's get you. They lick they don't have eyelids, so they lick their eyes with their tongue. They have big eyelashes, big head, and a lot of them are really good at jumping. I don't think he's as keen on jumping most of the time. He's kind of chill.
Yeah.
Yeah, you brought me the lazy. Although his eyes get green screened out.
Oh.
or at least partially green screened out.
Got 52.
But yeah, they're incredibly soft. He's a super chill boy. And probably the biggest problem with him, even though it's not a problem, is that, like a lot of other lizards, they can drop their tails if they feel threatened or scared. And crested geckos don't regrow their tails, so they end up basically, it would just stop right here where my thumb is, and then they end up in the industry, they just call them frog butts because you just end up with kind of a frog butt. But you are really pretty today too, and friendly.
Yeah, that I agree. That is a really pretty animal. Geckos. I could sit and just watch geckos when they're actually, you know, moving around and doing stuff. A lot of times they're not doing anything, but they're a lot of fun to watch. Make sure you put Poor Claire on there.
I got Poor Claire.
Thanks, Poor Claire. You didn't have to. Yeah. You didn't have to give us $4.99 just to enter. But
hello, Poor Claire.
Maya.
What were you saying, Robin?
There's Maya. I didn't have her yet.
Oh, okay. Well, let's give you just a minute here and figure out a winner of this thing before Matt gets out of here, and I will take care of. Like I said, I will give another shirt to the members myself.
You want me to just give it to whoever I want to?
Well, go for it. You get to pick the winner. You're the one. You're doing it. You bought it.
Do y'all ship to Australia, Matt?
I do not ship reptiles to Australia.
No,
I'm not
shirts.
Oh, shirts. That I don't know either because I don't handle any of the merchandise, but the company that we work with, I think, can ship almost anywhere. DA asked if there were any more.
That's the list of things he has. Big feet or Bigfoot.
Bigfoots are easy to care for.
DA
now,
asked
I'll guess it. I've got like almost, I think 55, 57. So Matt, pick a number between 1 and 58.
26.
Have science.
All right, Bree. Email me at the Kentucky Atheist at Gmail, and we'll get that shirt out to you.
Sorry, Mark Reed.
I'm gonna have to buy a Mark Reed a shirt and send it from here now, aren't I?
I tagged you. DA was asking if there were any more tattoos in my future. I have no idea. I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 now. Wow. You son of a bitch. Get out.
Cat.
Oh, I thought it was Arden.
She just knocked over my light.
Wow.
On the camera. And now the camera's, it's a good thing that we're done or nearly done, because the cat is destined to destroy everything about my setup.
Well, yeah, we'll wrap it up here.
I'll sink down. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Well, Matt, I really appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to us. And you know, like I said, I know you're really busy, and it means a lot to me and these people here to hear from you and ask some of their questions and stuff. So, what you got any debates or anything coming up in the future? What do you got going on?
I have no debates currently scheduled. I'm getting ready to travel to do, well, I'm going to Orlando this weekend, and it's the last event I'm doing for a little while because June is consumed with reptile expos, and also I have to go have some oral surgery done. So nothing else is currently scheduled. I'm just doing my regular shows on Wednesday and Sundays, and any shows in between that we feel like it.
Yeah. I know you guys have been cranking out a ton of content over there on the line, and doing a lot of awesome shows and stuff. And
well, if you want a chance to talk to Matt personally, and then join Patreon on the line. Him and Arden do those Zoom meetings, like once every couple of months, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't have the Lions Patreon queued up. I've got Matt's though.
Yes, do my personal one. Give me all the money.
Patreon is awesome. There's loads of information over there. Loads.
No, really. If there's a topic that you're interested in hearing a breakdown of how it works and stuff, that's the place for it. There's
arguments.
I love it.
Actually,
Matt's channel.
Let me give myself and anybody and everybody else a treat here real quick. Go into YouTube Studio, because I have several videos that patrons have been able to see that aren't available yet. So I will set this one live right now. It's called "Can God Communicate Clearly?" And I will get a link in chat. And now this should be available to everybody publicly. It is a new take on something related to divine hiddenness, inconsistent revelation, thing like that. So
awesome. Yeah, so everybody go check. You guys got the get the first public look at that video outside of the Patreon. Awesome.
There you go.
Thanks, Matt. Well, I'm going to go check it out in a minute for sure, because divine hiddenness is one of my favorite things to talk about. I enjoy it a lot. Well, let's get out of here. You guys got anything else you want to say before we go?
Nope.
Yep, just
I'm good.
thanks.
Thanks, Matt.
For missing
Thanks.
Mod, no, I don't drink coffee.
Oh, well.
Well, I got something coming with Matt Dillahunty. Crap, I'm gonna sleep good tonight.
I think Earl had a question.
Okay. I missed it. I'm sorry. I was.
It said.
I was trying to let Matt leave.
I know, but I've seen it before. I can't go back to it. I don't know.
Here, I got you.
I can't even catch up on. Yeah, I don't even know where I'm at on chat.
Is this it? I have an argument I'm working on for objective morality. Would you be willing to look it over?
Wait, we're past time, and somebody wants me to go over an argument on objective morality?
I don't think she means right now.
Just in 30 minutes or less.
She said an argument for objective morality. I'm curious if she's joking.
Could be. If you can email it to me, I can't promise when I'll get time to review it or if I'll get time to review it, but sans.deity@gmail.com is the email address to send me all that stuff.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming, and thank you, Matt, for the discussion. And it was awesome to meet you and get to ask you some questions and stuff about things and talk about snakes. It was a great time, and I appreciate it a lot.
Awesome. Thank you.
Everybody, catch us. The next show on will be Sunday. R and Raw will be here Sunday, and for that visit, we're going to give away a couple of his books to you guys. So drop in for that and hang out and see what Arn has to say. We're going to talk about some young Earth creationist stuff and have a good time with him.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
That'll be Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So thank everybody.
There's a fire going in it.
Yeah. Thanks for coming, everybody, and have a great night. See you later.